Welcome to Story Lantern. Imagine you are carrying someone's memory in your heart for 10 years. You don't know where they are. You don't know whether they still remember you. And then, on an ordinary afternoon, inside a quiet cafe, a stranger suddenly calls you by the name only one person ever used. Would you believe your ears? Or would your heart stop before your mind could understand? Today's story is about love that never died because it never stopped waiting. Let's begin. Waiting for love. Bhumika parked her car beneath the lone jacaranda. Purple flowers lay scattered around its rain-darkened trunk, forming an uneven carpet that stretched beyond the shade. She stepped out, placed her laptop bag in the boot, adjusted her rimless photochromic glasses, and pulled her dupatta closer so it would not trail along the wet road. Then she checked the car lock twice and crossed the parking lot. A few steps took her past the florist and to the entrance of her favorite cafe. At that hour, it was nearly empty. She disliked its large revolving door. It reminded her of things coming full circle, but mechanically, without romance. The doorman recognized her and opened the smaller door with a cheerful, "Welcome, ma'am." Bhumika responded with a slight nod and a generous smile. At the counter, she picked up a bottle of sugar-free orange juice and a cinnamon croissant. The younger cashier helped her with a card machine, then placed everything in an open cane basket with a wooden plate and a few tissues. Bhumika carried the basket to her favorite corner table, beside a glossy erica palm peeping from behind a pillar. It was the most private spot in the cafe, her little corner of me time. Late afternoons were usually quiet there. She set down the basket and her oversized handbag, then chose the chair that gave her the clearest view of the cafe's green and white awning outside. A glass partition separated the indoor seating from the covered extension. She opened the juice bottle with a practiced twist, took a sip, and placed the croissant on the plate. Careful not to smudge her lip gloss, she took a small bite and looked beyond the awning. Laburnum and flame trees were in bloom. At the roundabout, the traffic lights seemed to imitate their colors. A fountain rose in the center, surrounded by neat circles of flowers. From that height, she could watch the rat race without being part of it, at least for a while. That afternoon, she needed the distance. Only a few hours earlier, against her better judgment, she had attended a matchmaking meeting arranged by her maternal aunt. The entire affair had left her feeling stifled. She had wanted to escape at once, but dignity had made her wait until the young man and his family had left. Now staring through the glass, she began replaying the meeting in her mind. Then she noticed a young couple walking towards the cafe. The man had a sharply trimmed beard, black sunglasses, and a loose cream cap with scattered blue motifs. A book rested in his left hand. On his right forearm was an artistic tattoo. The woman wore stone-washed jeans and a lightly embroidered cotton kurti. But what Bhumika noticed most was her smile, open, warm, and unforgettable. Bhumika took another careful bite of the croissant and followed it with a measured sip of juice. She tried not to look at the couple for too long. They sat under the awning, diagonally opposite her, just beyond the glass partition. The young woman looked strangely familiar. Then it struck Bhumika. She resembled Rama ma'am, her secondary school teacher. The man sat with his back towards her. Curly hair escaped from beneath his cap. For no reason at all, their presence made Bhumika self-conscious. They were not even looking at her. The young woman opened her laptop and ordered Darjeeling tea with cookies. Once settled, she glanced towards Bhumika and immediately leaned forward to whisper something to her companion. A moment later, the man interlocked his fingers behind his head, stretched, and turned. His eyes rested on Bhumika for barely 2 seconds. Normally she would have called it staring, but the glance had been too brief and clearly prompted by the woman, so she let it pass. What held her attention instead was the tattoo on his forearm. It read, Kohu wa nete met, a Japanese proverb meaning luck comes to those who wait. The couple continued talking, mostly to each other, occasionally glancing at the laptop. For a moment, Bhumika wondered whether they were discussing her. Then she dismissed the thought. She finished the croissant, drank the remaining juice, and pulled a half-read romantic novel from the handbag. She jokingly called her Pandora's bag, her jhola. Within a few pages, her thoughts drifted to the boy, who had been her closest friend since kindergarten, and her longest, most carefully hidden crush. 10 years earlier, during the farewell party at DBS College, he had disappeared without a word. Half an hour passed. When Bhumika finally looked up, the couple's chairs were empty. For one strange second, she wondered whether another 10 years had vanished with them. The novel in her hands had ended hopefully. Its ending brought tears to her eyes. She did not want it to be an ending. She wanted it to be a beginning. She blinked hard and forced the tears back. Love, she thought, had once stood her up in a very peculiar way. With a sigh, she adjusted her glasses, picked up her handbag, and walked towards the door. Her head was lowered. Her thoughts were blurred. As the door opened, a bouquet of daffodils appeared before her. The flowers brushed so close to her face that they nearly stole a tear from her hidden eyes. She stepped aside. "Sorry," she murmured. A familiar voice answered. "Are they really so bad, Bhumi?" She froze. Then she looked up. "Oh, Shashwat!" Her face transformed. "Thank God your voice hasn't changed." She stared at him, breathless. "If you ever surprise me like that again, I'll die." She tried to raise a mock fist at him. Instead, the room tilted and she fainted. For a few moments, she heard nothing. Then her breath returned. The light returned. And slowly, she opened her eyes. Shashwat stood with his back against the wall. She was in his arms. The daffodils brushed her cheek. So did the tattoo on his forearm. "Shush," she whispered. "Where have you been for 10 years? Why didn't you ever contact me?" She could hear his heartbeat. He bent closer. "If I had contacted you earlier, you would never have fainted so romantically in my arms, angel." He breathed in the scent of her hair, then added, "Luckily, my doctor sister Mahima was right here. She revived you." Bhumika turned and saw the young woman from the awning. She reached for Mahima's hand. "Thank you." Then she looked back at Shashwat. "Shash, I haven't been alive for 10 years, you know." The emotion in her voice silenced him. For a moment, he simply looked at her, as though trying to preserve the scene forever. Then he protested. "Didn't you read the message I wrote in your farewell autograph book?" "What message?" "I asked you to call me to your side if you loved me too, by raising your glass that evening. I sent you the same message on WhatsApp this morning, but my old phone is with my mother now," she interrupted, a mischievous glint returning to her eyes. "Oh my God." "Don't worry, Shash. She doesn't know my WhatsApp password." He exhaled in relief. Bhumika continued. "But 10 years ago, my twin brother saw your note in my farewell book before I could do anything, and I didn't have the courage to act on it." She paused. "Still, why didn't you notice that I had no glass in front of me at the farewell? You ignored me then, and you are still ignoring me now." She pretended to be offended. "It's all your fault." Shashwat placed a hand lightly over his heart. "Yes, if loving you is a fault, then every bit of it is mine." He frowned theatrically. Your fault, Bhumi, is that you never loved me back. You turned me into a nomad. A nomad? She looked at him questioningly. I was in Japan for a long time, he said. And whenever I came back to Doon, you were never here. And now that I am here, it is your sister who revived me, not you. What if I had... Shh, he smiled. I would very much like to revive you myself. Try fainting again. Bhumika widened her eyes at his boldness, then glanced towards Mahima, who stood nearby, amused by their exchange. The look warned Shashwat to restrain himself. He quickly changed the subject. Anyway, I am cooking your favorite Italian food this evening. Come over. To meet your mother? She asked. To meet my mother, yes. Is that a proposal, Mr. Chef? Before he could answer, she added, I'll be at my favorite teacher's house, your mother's house, by 7. Then pointing a mock warning finger at him, she said, You had better cook well, or I'll faint right in front of your mother. You leave me no choice, amore mio. Bhumika lifted her face towards him. Then make your choice now. He did. His lips touched the yin-yang bindi on her forehead. She closed her eyes and imagined the rest. Shashwat meanwhile wondered how he could conjure a diamond ring out of thin air. He wanted to drop to one knee right there and then and propose to the woman for whom he had waited so long. You are listening to Waiting for Love, a story by Ajay Jugraan. Some people say love is about finding the right person. This story reminds us love is also about waiting for the right moment. Sometimes destiny separates two hearts, only to reunite them when both are finally ready. Perhaps true love isn't measured by days, months, or years, but by the hope that refuses to fade. If this story touched your heart, do share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more heartwarming stories from world literature and contemporary writers. Until next time, take care of your heart, because somewhere, someone may still be waiting for your love.